I want to give you a couple of different perspectives here, because we've talked about what MPs are saying, but this all stems from a vote of the British people, a referendum on whether the UK should leave the European Union. I'm joined now and want to welcome Lara Spirit, who's co-founder of Our Future, Our Choice. Lara, welcome to BBC World News. And Tom Harwood, who's a reporter for Guido Fawkes. And Tom, I think it's fair to say that you are a Leave supporter, and Lara, you are a Remain supporter. Tom, first, we've had a resignation of the Brexit Secretary, Dominic Raab. There could be other resignations. Is it fair to say there's a lot of concern or anger here at Westminster?
Oh, absolutely. I think the resignation of Dominic Raab just exposes how little control Brexiteers actually have over the process of Brexit. Since at least the summer of 2017, it has been in the hands, the entire process has been in the hands of people who voted Remain and don't like the idea of Brexit, treating it as a problem to be mitigated, not an opportunity to be seized. And that has been the fundamental problem for over the last year. And really, if we want to get a proper Brexit, if we want to deliver the will of the people, there's no way it can be delivered by this Prime Minister.
Lara, how do you feel about where we're at? I mean, from your point of view, it is a problem, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think Tom and I actually have much in common in this respect. Even though we have different views on Brexit, we both agree that this deal is an absolute disaster for this country. I personally think that this deal is going to leave us poorer and less secure. It's going to leave us a rule taker following EU regulations and rules without a say in them, paying a £50 billion divorce bill. But I think the resignation of Dominic Raab this morning shows that this is not a problem about people. This is a problem with Brexit in itself. And I think that the British public are not buying this. The only way out of this mess, now that we know that it's almost going to be impossible for Theresa May to sell this deal to Parliament, is to give the decision back to the people and give them a say on whether or not this deal is good enough for their future.
So Lara, from your point of view, you want there to be another referendum?
I do, yeah. I think that it is completely democratic and legitimate to give the people a final say on whether or not this deal is good enough for their future. We've had 2 years of absolutely hopeless negotiations. Just 1 in 6 people think that this deal is going to be good enough. And I think that we've now seen, despite the public being utterly exhausted with this process, that they now know that the government is not capable of coming to agreement, even amongst themselves, let alone passing this through Parliament. I think the only solution left is to give this decision back to the people.
This is extraordinary. We all agree that this deal is absolutely rubbish because it hands too much power to Brussels. The answer to that is not then to hand more power to Brussels. The answer is to take back control. And you do that by leaving the single market, by leaving the customs union, by ending ECJ jurisdiction within the UK. This deal doesn't completely deliver any of those 3 key planks that Theresa May set out in her Lancaster House speech.
And what about Lara's point that, given that it's been such a mess, which I think everybody agrees on, why not ask the people again? Now you're seeing what a future outside the EU might look like. Is that what you want?
This isn't the future outside the EU. This is a future tethered to the EU. The people in 2016 voted to leave the EU, and we can't start to revisit that decision before it's even been delivered. I mean, we haven't seen what a true Brexit would look like because we haven't had someone in charge who is willing to deliver that. I think this could all change in the coming weeks.
It seems to me, well, it's obvious, actually, that you are both deeply unhappy with the halfway house. But Theresa May, as British Prime Minister, has said she's trying to deliver for the nation, and so she's trying to find a halfway house. But that doesn't work, does it, for you?
Well, of course it doesn't work, and I think we've seen that. So few people actually think that this is the right Brexit they want. Tom and I are both united on this, that we think that this is a terrible deal for the country. But unfortunately, they've had 2 years to get this right. They haven't been able to find somebody who is going to deliver a Brexit that works for the people. And in this situation, we've now got no time left. We haven't got time left to play around with different ideas and different fantasies of what we think a good Brexit would look like. There isn't time. The only thing left to do is to let the people decide whether or not this is going to be good enough for their future and whether or not this is the right thing to do.
There's plenty of time. There's 5 months left before we automatically leave on the 29th of March 2019. If we automatically leave on the 29th of March 2019, we go to World Trade Organization terms, we can put in place many mitigating measures that can ease that transition to World Trade terms. But really, a mutually beneficial deal is good for the UK and it's good for the EU, and level heads will prevail if we just stick to our guns. This government has not been strong enough, not realised the strength of its position as the 5th largest economy in the world, as the largest trading partner for the EU. They need us just as much as we need them, and we should not be afraid to really hold their toes to the fire and say that we are willing to leave with no deal. Currently, the Prime Minister has not been credible in her threats to leave with no deal. The EU just don't believe her. We need someone who is believable in their decision to in their idea that no deal is okay.
But at that point, I have to put it to you that there's division all over the British kind of political scene. You say that Theresa May is an incredible leader. Do either of you have a candidate, Jeremy Corbyn or somebody else, who would be a credible national leader?
Any old point. This is the point, is that there just isn't one. There is not now a political figure who is going to be capable of uniting the country around a certain form of Brexit, because the problem is Brexit itself.
That's a council of despair.
Well, or we give it back to the people. We finally let them have this say if it's good enough for their future, and we can finally put it to rest and move forward with the other pressing issues which are facing our country.